This I just feel is like a must-have for anyone navigating the energies, the world right now. We all need a good protection practice in our back pocket. Ready to have a deeper conversation about body and soul, sacred leadership, and our collective evolution? Welcome to the Wise Body Ancient Soul podcast with me, your host, Charisse Sisou. Hello, beautiful soul and wise body. Today I want to talk about another one of my go-to tools. This I just feel is like a must-have for anyone navigating the energies, the world right now. We all need a good protection practice in our back pocket. Something that just becomes routine, that we can fall on, fall back upon whenever. Really, just as we regularly say meditate in the morning just to ground and kind of set the tone for the day, or whatever your routine is, to the same way that we brush our teeth, right? Every day. Just about every day, at some point, you'll need a little protection, prayer, charm, whatever you want to call it. I was thinking about that protection charm. Like every time I think of those words, I think of Hogwarts, and so I think that I need to say it with a British accent, which I cannot. And but also, like, charm almost makes it seem, uh, like very light, like a little dangly something hanging from a bracelet, right? When these are real practices that shift the energy that we are broadcasting, right? This is how it works. It's like by broadcasting or aligning with an energetic signature that says, I am safe, I'm protected, then that communicates with the world. And it's that people or events or what have you are responding to, right? The reason why I say it like this is because I've had this conversation with my hubby, who's a very rational, grounded guy, and when I talk to him about protection practices or prayers, his comeback is always like, I'll take self-defense over that any day. And rock on, I fully support that. And what is the energetic signature that shifts when one learns self-defense, right? The signature that shifts is, I now feel confident that I can defend myself in any situation. So, because what I've noticed is, and this is backed up by research, when they talk to folks that, let's talk about just momentarily about kind of person on person stuff, right? Is, when there is, say, like a predator, for lack of a better term, out there, they are seeking a particular energetic signature to take advantage of. Is it right? No. Is it, like the fault of the person who might be broadcasting that signature? Heck to the no. Like, I would never, ever suggest that, right? And what I am saying is, we have control over the energy that we are putting out into the world, and we can, to the best of our ability, broadcast an energetic signature of safety and protection. And it works. It works, right? It doesn't mean that we, control all circumstances. Sometimes stuff that's meant to happen is going to happen. However, and what I can tell you from my own experience is that I know that there have been situations that I have avoided. I have gone into situations that maybe in the past would have activated me, triggered me, where I would have had like a response within them. That once I started putting these practices into practice, I noticed that I wasn't getting activated. I wasn't, coming into contact with those same situations, right? So this particular protection practice I learned from my dear friend, Rosanne Remiglio Ashley. She's my bestie. And one of these days, she's also a reluctant speaker. So one of these days I will coax her onto my show. But in the meantime, I wanted to share this practice with you because it really came in strongly for me because my daughter was, heading out the door. She was feeling all kind of, energetically frayed, right? She was in a hurry. She was anxious. And I was like, let's say a quick protection prayer just before you hit the road, because you don't want to hit the road when you're in a crazy energy because, it's like waking up on the wrong side of the bed. It's the same kind of thing. It's like whatever energy we are broadcasting, surprise, it gets reflected right back to us, right? So interestingly enough, we say this little prayer. She goes out to the car doesn't start. Interesting, right? Turns out the car needed oil, right? The car needed some loving. It needed a little TLC. So my hubby goes out, takes a look at it. He's like, this is what it needs. We put some oil in it. It's fine. Now, did the prayer cause the car not to start? I'm not about to start like drawing causative lines here, right? Did it help? I think so, because I believe that had she driven off without that prayer, the car might have broken down later on the side of the road because it needed oil. Do you know what I'm saying? This is the world that I live in. I see myself as a co-creator with the universe. That means that how I interact with it manifests, right? How I interact with it translates from the mental, emotional, spiritual to the physical. So this was the prayer that I taught my daughter that day. And I learned it from my dear friend Rosanne. And here it is in a nutshell, and then I'll break it down for you. Red earth, teal water, ring of fire, globe of light. I'll say that again. Red earth, teal water, ring of fire, globe of light. So as I take you through this, if you're driving, obviously don't close your eyes. But if you are in a position where you can and you feel so inclined, feel free to close your eyes for this next segment and just really take it in what each of these pieces mean, because this is how I learned it. Imagine that you are standing at the center of these concentric circles, right? And that first central circle that you are standing on is a patch of red earth, connecting you to Gaia, connecting you to the planet. It is not on her that we dance, it is with her. We are a part of the planet. So when we connect in, we benefit not only from that energetic support, right? This is why it's so grounding to connect with Earth. It feels good in the body, soothing to the nervous system. It also affords us her great wisdom and web of knowledge. Okay. I recently interviewed a fascinating man by the name of Leroy Bull. He is a master dowser, dowsing for 68 years. And one of the things that he learned from one of his teachers, a native teacher, they said anything that walks vertically upon the earth or lives vertically upon the earth is a connection between, that which is above and that which is below, right? Like the trees, like humans. So when we are connecting in with red earth, we are plugging into one of the sources of our energy, intelligence, wisdom, instincts. There's a lot of information that gets exchanged on this sphere, even just connecting in with right? Connecting in with earthly knowledge. Like think of how, the mycelium of mushrooms, of fungi, like transfers information across great distances. This is the same kind of communication that happens where, let's say, a fire breaks out at the edge of the forest. The trees on the inside of the forest know almost immediately because that information is transmitted, right? Think of how the original peoples of Australia, right? The Aboriginal peoples of Australia, how they are able to traverse great distances, going from point A to point B with no marked road, but they know the path because they connect in with the earth and earth's knowledge and information base, right? Think of, when we were voyagers, right? I'm going to quote Moana here, right? Talking about my own ancestors, my own Polynesian ancestors. We would go great distances. We would see our destination and we would reach it. How did we know? Because we were tapped into this wealth of information. Does it include reading the stars? Yes. Is it just reading the stars? No. It's tapping into the same web of information and knowledge that the whales and the dolphins tap into. There are these amazing, journeys that these animals go on just to fulfill their life cycle. How do they know where to go? They're connected in, right? So, red earth. That's your central circle. Plugging in to that groundedness, that safety, that information web. Next circle, teal water. So now I want you to imagine that patch of red earth is surrounded by a moat of sparkling teal water, right? Just like a moat would serve that creating that boundary with the outside world for, a castle or a fortress. Same kind of thing. Water. Water is also a great part of what we are made of. It is also the great communicator. Water stores information, right? So again, we are tapping into another informational network, right? My ancestors saying this, right? This is that network with the earth that the voyagers would tap into in tracing their path across the oceans. So red earth, teal water. Think about already how safe we're feeling, surrounded by sparkling water. Untouchable, protected, clear. right? Then around that, a ring of fire. This one's kind of self-explanatory, right? So think Pele, think volcano, right? Think, inner earth, right? Is this not what the inside of our earth looks like? Water surrounded by fire, right? She carries that paradox. We carry that paradox, that ring of fire surrounding the teal water and the red earth, right? So that's our third concentric circle. This burns anything looking to come in that we have not allowed in ourselves, and vice versa, right? So that fiery protection and power and strength. And you can make it as tall as you want, right? Next circle, globe of light. So this is really an interesting one as well, because this globe of light, this is now we're going from, seemingly, we went from 2D, they're all 3D, right? But this sort of like standing on the earth, seeing that ring of water, then seeing that ring of fire. Now that's jumping up around us. And then globe of light over our heads, under our feet, a big globe of light surrounding the whole thing, protecting us. And what's lovely about this light, the way that Rosanne taught it to me was, and this was given to her by her guides, right? By her native ancestors, her native grandfather gave her this protection prayer that she then passed on to me and has been teaching people as well, right? What they said is, you can make that globe of light, you can think of it as light, you can also think of it as crystal, and you can make that crystal as thick as you like, as thick as a wall, right? However you are feeling that you require in that moment or in that day, right? So usually for me, globe of light. But if I know I'm going into a situation where I really need to have my back straight, where I need to call that inner strength, maybe I know I'm walking into a challenging conversation, what might even be a conflict or something like that. Now I can bring in, the crystal wall. Whoa, right? We got to have fun with this stuff. And I also want to underline, yes, when we talk about protection, it always comes from this place of safety, confidence, courage, strength. I call upon protection out of love for myself and love for my neighbor, love for the people around me, for my family, right? Not from fear. Yeah. Like it's, fear is what will, a rocket sent with fear just kind of goes, pew, doesn't really go anywhere, right? But love, the core language of the universe, the language of your heart, which is where your truth resides, now we're unstoppable. Now we are so powerful. And this may sound like just words, but they're not just words. Words are the first stage of manifest. Like when we talk about manifestation, when we talk about creating, it starts with an idea, feeling, it starts in that ether. And then often one of the next stages is speaking it, right? Writing it is like, now we're bringing into the 3D, even speaking it. Now it's like a vibration that is measurable in the physical world by our current tools. So to recap, red earth, grounding, teal water, protective boundary, ring of fire, globe of light, right? So now this is something that's like omnidirectional, right? And that for extra measure, if you are so inclined, you can make as thick, like thick crystal. So that's like the whole visualization, right? And some of the underpinnings and some of just whatever wanted to be spoken in that moment. So now that you've got the whole picture, right, in your ear, in your body, this is the shorthand, right? Because that's a lot. You know what I mean? Like what I just took you through is a lot. And what's so great is you can bring it right to consciousness, right to the moment, simply by red earth, teal water, ring of fire, globe of light. Boom. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So that is one of my favorite go-tos. There are other prayers and charms that I carry with me, practices, where if I want to like tap into a little angelic something, if I want to, call in whatever I am feeling, called to in the moment, whatever my intuition is saying, right? You can also think of these concentric circles. Basically, you're creating an energetic grid, right? And if you've done any of this work before, you might be familiar with that term because you can set a protective grid on your property, right, in and around your home, right, to also have that protection. We'll dive into some of that other stuff in future episodes because there's so much, right? I just wanted to introduce my favorite go-to. I use it pretty much on a daily basis. So when do I use it? I use it when I'm heading out into the world, right? I use it when I'm getting behind the wheel of my car. I use it, let's say I'm going to meet someone. I use it anytime I get a little intuition, like, hey, did you do that today? Like, don't forget to do that, right? And just always trust that. Now, does this replace if you're getting an intuition like, don't go there? Or you're like, oh, well, Charisse said just say this protection prayer and I'll be fine. Trust your intuition first. So this does not bypass your existing detection system, right? So meaning, if you're in a situation that's like, I'm getting a no for whatever reason. Like I'm getting a no on going in that room or stopping by this place or, I'm getting a get out of this joint right now. You know what I mean? Like sometimes that'll happen too. Like you'll be in a place that'll just be like, yeah, I got to get out of here, And again, not in a fearful place, right? Although fear is a message, right? It can be a message. Or if you're getting like a little just, a little, like something doesn't feel right here. We've all had that feeling. Something doesn't feel right here. Trust that. Say the protection prayer anyway and get the heck out of there anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? So it does not replace. This is not a cure-all. Okay. This is how do I set my energetic grid for moving through the world in a way where I feel safe, protected, or just remind myself that I am safe and protected always, right? So, all right, my loves, that's my little note for the day. Let me know what you think. Like, what are your favorite protection practices? And what would you like to hear about in a future episode? I am here to serve, right? I am here as just to pass along what I've learned. My journey has been, up, down, all around. Like it's a Diana Ross song. Like it is all of the things. And, so as I get the instinct to share a tool, I will share that tool. And for sure, if there's something that I've touched on or spoken on that raises a question for you, I want to hear about it. You can always drop a note in the comments under the YouTube video. You can, DM me on Instagram. You can, I'm here. I'm a real person. And, I'm here to support. Like, I was given the message that I am here to broadcast the energy of unconditional love and to teach from within that. And so I am just sharing the practices that I use myself, the practices that have helped me go from, oh my goodness, like a really just stressed out, anxiety ridden, grief stricken, like really tough path to where I am now. It doesn't mean that I don't have crappy days, because of course I do. It doesn't mean that I don't find myself in situations where I go, oh, like, you knew better. Why? And oh my goodness, like light. Oh my gosh. I wanted to say night and day, and what came out of my mouth was light and day. It's like light and day. I spent the first several decades, for sure, first 20 years, but like well into my 20s, where I just felt like I was underwater and the world was a gray and hopeless place. And if you are there, my friend, or you've been there, and you know what I'm talking about, my heart goes out to you, because I know how fathomless it can feel. And my own path was a baby step by baby step. I found my way to the surface. And I'll never forget the day when I realized that somehow I'd been just like my eyes were just above the surface of that fathomless ocean, gray, vast space. And I just had kind of been there for a while, and I was like, whoa, I can see color. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean that literally, but it was like, whoa, there's hope here. There's light here. And so that's been my journey. And I am just, I am on fire to share the tools that I learned that helped me get to that place, because I remember where I was and I know where I am now. And even though it's not perfect, because I think things only get perfect when we're just in that ether. No, I rephrase that. Things are perfect every single day. And we can forget so easily, be knocked into, whatever vibration, just because of a conversation, an interaction, a taken on of something that's not ours, before we realize it and like put it down. Speaking as a sensitive, myself, that will take up, and take on other folks' energy, just like that. We have choices around that, So how have I learned how to protect my energy and move about the day with greater sovereignty and freedom? These are the practices. And this is one of my faves. And there's so many other ones. And sometimes I use other ones, but this is like one of my go-tos, just because it's so simple, but it comprises like so much, right? Isn't it potent? Like, thank you, Rosanne. Thank you, grandfather. Thank you, ancestors. Like, thank you for this tool. Red earth, teal water, ring of fire, globe of light. Juicy. So take that forth with you from my heart to yours. May you always be safe. May you always be free. May you always be in love. From my heart to yours, I love you. Take what you need and pass it on. Mwah. Thanks for joining me on Wise Body, Ancient Soul. I hope it reminds you how magical and powerful you truly are. Kindly subscribe, rate, and review this podcast so more juicy light bringers like you can hear these transmissions. And if you're looking to connect more deeply with your body and soul's wisdom, visit CharisseSisou.com to learn how else we can play together. Here's to your joy and wild success, from my heart to yours. I love you. Take what you need and pass it on.